Hello everyone. Today I'm going to help you understand the gender and number agreement in French Passé Composé. It is a little complicated to French learners, but don't worry. I'm going to explain the agreement and use two tables to help you quickly understand when to follow the agreement and when not to. So let's begin. Before diving into the tables, I'm going to talk about what the gender and number agreement is in French Passé Composé. When conjugating French verbs in Passé Composé, you sometimes need to change the ending of the participle to make it agree in number and gender with the subject or the object of the verb. However, the agreement is not always followed. Let's see some examples. La chanson que j'ai entendue était émouvante. Here, there's a after entendu to indicate that the chanson is feminine and singular. The second example, le livre que j'ai lu était passionnant. There's a s after lu to indicate that the livre is masculine and plural. In the third example, we add a s after écrit to indicate that the lettre is feminine and plural. In the sentences above, the agreement must be followed, so the endings of the verb participles have to be changed accordingly. Naturally, you may ask when we should follow the agreement and when not. That is a good question, and that's what we are going to talk about today. I list all the cases in this table to facilitate your grammar learning. The first case is the être. When the verb should conjugate in passé composé using être, you should follow the agreement and make sure the participles ending agree with the subject. See the example. We add a after the participle partie to indicate that the subject elle is feminine and singular. The second case includes three subcases. They are all about the verb conjugated using avoir. In the first subcase, where no direct object exists or indirect object, you don't follow the agreement. To quickly understand the direct object and indirect object, see the notes in the bottom. Let's continue. If there is no direct object, in other words, there might be an indirect object, you don't need to follow the agreement. In the example sentence, we don't change the participle ballet because lu is the indirect object of ballet due to ballet à quelqu'un instead of ballet quelqu'un. The second subcase is where the direct object is before the participle. In that case, you have to follow the agreement. In the first example sentence, le pain is the direct object of manger due to manger quelque chose. It is before the participle manger, so we have to change the ending to est to indicate that the pain is feminine and plural. In the second example sentence, the direct object nous is before the participle, so we add s to indicate nous is masculine and that plural. It can also be es if nous is feminine and plural. The third subcase, when direct object is after the participle, you don't follow the agreement. The last case is about the reflexive verbs. These verbs have a se to represent mutually or to oneself in French. Se can be either direct object or indirect object. If se is a direct object, you need to follow the agreement. See the example of the first subcase. Se is a direct object. Then you need to follow the agreement. See example sentence of the first subcase. Elle s'est lavée. Se is a direct object of laver because of laver quelque chose or quelqu'un. However, if se is an indirect object, you don't follow the agreement. See the example. Se is an indirect object of promettre due to promettre à quelqu'un. So we don't change the ending. After walking through all the cases, I believe you already have some understanding of the agreement and when to follow it. To make it simpler, I suggest you just remember the following two cases where you have to follow the agreement. The first one is the verbs with être as auxiliary verb, excluding reflexive verbs. The participle's ending must agree with the subject. The second one is where direct object is placed before the participle, excluding un. The participle's ending must agree with the object. That is all about the gender and number agreement in French Passé Composé. I hope the tables can help you understand the grammar better and tell you when to follow the agreement and when not to. Please give me a thumb if you think it's useful to you. Thanks for watching.